Welcome to the SVG-TV news for Thursday, June 24th. I am Khalil Cato with the details. Some fishermen and vendors in capital Kingstown voiced their disappointment that they were not included among those affected by the volcanic eruption to receive income support from the government. Payment for farmers and fishers under the La Soufrière Volcanic Eruption Income Support Program commenced yesterday at 11 locations on the mainland. It has been reported that a number of the fishermen in the Kingstown area who turned up to their payment location walked away empty-handed. Our news team spoke with some of these fishermen earlier today who said they were given the impression that all fishermen throughout SVG would benefit from the income support.
A lot of fishers have flocked me since yesterday and today looking for clarity about the information that was shared out. Early up in this month that every fisher folks was promised that they will be getting this income relief support. It is not nice, I could say, and people need to be straight with the fishers, because it comes to me that there are a lot of misinformation, and I think if there is a misinformation to the fisher folks, it needs to be cleared up.
We went yesterday by Rosebank, I get through. But if I get farmers money, I can't get fisherman money. I watch about the fish me just bring here. You understand what I'm saying? But you got people who work with the government, still get farmers money and still get fisherman money.
So I went to Barley. I went down there, forgot my ID card home, had to take a journey back to Barley, to Layo for my ID card. When I get back there, after 3, you're telling me no money is wrong. So I am very disappointed. The whole system is a hoax, because if you're telling fisher folks they're going to get assistance from the government, why?
The fishermen lamented that the volcanic eruption did not just affect fishermen in the red and orange zones, but island-wide.
Since the weather, the volcano last time, well, I told you last time, a whole bazaar full of fish we die with the ashes. You understand? We fishermen working hard, we get the same disaster like the red zone, and nothing for we. Why? Instead of we fishermen like there's nothing in here.
This time, the suffering come and affect everybody. So I want to know why. Now you have a program in place that you're gonna give a fisher a little stipend, okay? We all affected. The family aching, everybody's aching.
I think that is unfair, because all the fishermen feel the pressure from suffering. All we both were parked up, none of us could have worked, and we all in the same condition. And you can't separate some from each other, because it is unfair.
The fisher folks in the green and the yellow zone could not fish. This Kingstown fish market was closed up for almost 2 weeks. We was not able to go into the red zone to fish, because the red zone is where a lot of the good quality fish is, and we couldn't fish at all.
The fish vendors at the Kingstown Fish Market have also expressed disappointment that they too were not listed to receive the income support. They say they have also been affected by the volcanic eruption, and it has been challenging making ends meet.
Sometimes we don't make it. Sometimes rain come, we can't get dry. Sometimes we have to owe them. So we need assistance. We have children to feed too. Not the red zone alone. Everybody affected by the suffering. That is not right.
Nice with this thing. Because plenty of us go around Wallabo yesterday to look for the money and we ain't get none. And people who not do no farming, can't man getting money. We come and selling blackfish. Sometimes go back home, don't get any sell, and no money for us. It's very bad.
Nothing. Turn up, they say go Wallabo, they say go school, they go Discontent. All about. And people drift them all about. And I say they're not getting in a red zone. Other people affect them.
Minister responsible for Agriculture and Fisheries, Saboto Caesar, who was assisting with the payments today at the Sanssouci Learning Resource Center, said that this is the largest payout ever in the history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines of income support for farmers and fishers in the red and orange zones.
Knows exactly what took place. We had 32 explosive eruptions of La Soufrière. There are many farmers who were displaced, persons living in shelters, and the heavy ashfall definitely had a negative impact on production and productivity. There are many farmers who lost all their crops, persons lost significant number of livestock, and because of that the government has a program where over $5 million will be paid out between now and December 2021 as income support for the farmers.
For the next 7 months, farmers and fisherfolk from the red and orange zones are expected to receive $500 monthly, while other farmers and fishers will receive a one-off payment of $500. Minister Caesar used the opportunity today to praise all fishers and farmers for their hard work.
December, and the Ministry of Finance has noted that they are already considering whether it will be a possibility for continuation in 2022. The farmers of St. Vincent and the Grenadines play a very important role in our development. Without our farmers, our economy would not be this resilient. Without our farmers, we will not be able to produce the food that we consume and is produced and distributed locally. Without our farmers, we will not be able to export all the cattle that we do to Grenada, the great chocolate that we export, chocolate bars we export from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, bless you, all right? We will not be able to export all that root crops to Trinidad and Tobago, to Barbados and the other islands that we export to. And our fisher folk also play a very important role.
In reference to the payment for fisherfolk, particularly those outside the red and orange zones, Minister Caesar said that there has been some misunderstanding, noting that the current income support payment is only for the fisherfolk in the red and orange zones. However, there is another support that will be given to other fisherfolk to assist with boat repairs.
When we got the information from the Fisheries Department, we have about 1,500 persons in the fishing community, and what we did, we have a special envelope to help fishers throughout the country with repairs to their boats, persons who would need, when they harvested the lobsters, we need assistance with the lobster traps and the pots. So we are going to assist fishers throughout the country, but the income support is being focused on those fishers from the red and orange zones. I'm talking about places like Fancy, Owia, Sandy Bay, Georgetown. There are some persons also from Pittibudel, Chateaubelair, Richmond, and those areas on the leeward side that comprise the red and orange zone.
Minister Caesar noted that thus far the COVID-19 protocols and regulations are being followed at various payment locations. Payments were made today for farmers with the first letter of their surnames from F to J, while tomorrow we'll see persons with surnames beginning with K to O receiving their payment. Monday will be for surnames P to U, on Tuesday V to Z, and on Wednesday for persons who missed their scheduled payment dates. In the Grenadines, payments for all fisherfolk will be made in Beckway and Union Island on Wednesday as well. Hospital Administrator Grace Walters has dismissed reports that the medical records of Cornelius John of Diamond are missing from the files at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. John was reportedly shot in his leg at home on April 13th in an incident that allegedly involved Government Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly, Senator Ashel Morgan, Assistant Director of Public Prosecutions, Karim Nelson, and an unidentified person. On Monday on radio, John's lawyer, Kay Bacchus Batiste, indicated that several attempts were made to get her client's medical records, which were unsuccessful. In a telephone interview with SVG-TV News today, the hospital administrator said the medical records for John are in her possession after they were requested from the Medical Records Department this morning.
Records here, so I don't know why Mr. John is saying his records cannot be found, because the records are at the hospital. As a matter of fact, because I heard all of this going on, I sent for the records and I'm going to keep them in my office, which I don't normally do. But I'm going to secure the records here because persons are insinuating that. Well, they're not insinuating, they're outright saying that the records cannot be found. But that is news to me. I have the records. I sent for them this morning from the medical records department, and they are right on my desk now.
Walters noted that a medical report could take some time to be furnished based on a number of factors.
A medical report is not reliant only on finding the records, but it's reliant on the doctors preparing. One of the reasons why a report would not be done immediately or in haste is that the physician either is on leave or no longer works at the facility. However, when cases like that happen, then the medical director is authorized to either prepare the report himself or designate an appropriate physician to furnish a report. It do take some time, however, for reports to be done because our physicians would prioritize their activities, and caring for patients will take precedence over preparing a report, except in the case where caring for a patient includes preparation of a report. That will take some time as well. If he has paid for furnishing his medical records, then I don't have an explanation to offer as to why that wasn't done, because the records are available.
Meanwhile, John's lawyer said in the third week following the shooting of her client, she wrote to the hospital on his behalf requesting a medical report, and to this date, none has been provided.
We have not yet been able to obtain the medical report from the hospital, despite several requests and several visits and a letter from me asking the hospital to deliver the medical report to Mr. John and that he would pay for it. I think he has already paid for it in advance, but he has not been able to get the medical report. This is a very, very untenable situation, and we are very disgusted that this is ongoing for so long, but he still has not been able to get his medical report.
Bacchus Batiste said her client has made several trips to the hospital and was told his medical report was unavailable as his records could not be found.
Well, I think I'm told it is a Cuban doctor, and I think I was told that he was sent, he's not there anymore. That I may have to clarify, but that was the last information I got from my client, that even the doctor was sent away. Of course, he can go to his own doctor and get another a medical, but of course we would like to get the report from the person who dealt with him up front. I think it is perverse that he has been trying so hard on top of all that he's going through, that he's had to go to the hospital on several trips, having paid in advance for his medical certificate, and he still cannot get it. They told him he cannot get a medical report because they can't find the record.
The attorney said she would not allow the absence of the medical report to hinder her client's suit against the perpetrators of the shooting. According to the hospital's administrator, a medical report can take up to 12 weeks to be furnished depending on the availability of the physician and/or the patient's medical records. Police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the death of 52-year-old David Horn of Belmont. Horn's unresponsive body was discovered at his home at about 5:30 p.m. yesterday by relatives. The police say there were no signs of injury on the body of the deceased and no foul play is suspected in the death. A post-mortem examination will be carried out to ascertain the exact cause of death. As COVID-19 continues to present a multiplicity of challenges for the working sector, psychologist and CEO of the Vallejo Experience, Dr. Joselle Miller, highlighted how supervisors can create a stress and anxiety-inducing environment if they choose not to show empathy for the plight of working parents without a support system to supervise their children during work hours.
Of the parents looked forward to that opportunity where they can take their child to school and then they go to work. But now, if no one is home to supervise and to make sure that the child is sitting down and having, that class time, you have to take the child with you. But at the same time, the question is asked, is that the responsibility of your supervisor or that ministry? And there are a lot of parents who would say, I do not have somebody that I can turn to. Their productivity is going to be severely compromised, and then it is going to obviously, reflect badly on that individual as a worker. So persons feel like I'm not doing an adequate job as a parent. I feel like I'm not doing an adequate job on as a worker. So all around, that person now is internalizing some level of self-defeat, and you're thinking that, okay, I am not cut out for this, which really and truly can then lend to even more heightened anxiety, depressive thoughts and symptoms, and sadness, and feelings like I want to give up.
Director General of Finance and Planning Edmund Jackson also shared why leadership within departments of government must use emotional intelligence during these challenging times to combat difficulties employees may be facing.
Leadership in departments of government within a context of change and upheaval need to demonstrate, in my opinion, a bit more maturity as leaders to understand that in these circumstances, the ability of a worker to produce depends upon their psychosocial state. And in a situation where a parent would be anxious about the safety of their child, firstly, and secondly, the education of their child, to take a hard stance about, this child can't come to this office, is really an inappropriate stance. As leaders, our responsibility is not only to cater to the services we have to provide and the results that we have to deliver, but we also have to take care and look out for the interests of the persons who we are privileged and fortunate to lead.
Both Jackson and Miller were speaking during a panel discussion held as part of activities for Public Service Week 2021, organized by the Public Sector Reform Unit. The week of activities, which began on Monday, will end tomorrow. No new positive COVID-19 cases were reported from 157 samples processed on Tuesday, with 4 new recoveries noted over the reporting period. 250 cases are currently active and 12 persons with COVID-19 have died. 2,207 cases of COVID-19 and 1,945 recoveries have been recorded in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since March 2020. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, said persons who persist in incorrect or no mask use, remain unvaccinated, and participate in mass gatherings will continue to be at risk for being infected and spreading COVID-19, as is happening now. The public is urged to continue to use masks, sanitize, physically distance, and get vaccinated to reduce the spread of COVID-19 in the country. The Buildings, Roads and General Services Authority, BRAGZA, has begun cleaning communities in the red zone. BRAGZA said the initiative, dubbed Ash Cleanup, will see the cleaning and removal of ash from the communities north of the Dry River on the windward side of the island and Fitzhughes on the leeward side. Communications Officer Rohan Cupid said BRAGZA has been given clearance to do preliminary cleaning of roads in these areas. He said in some cases there are ash deposits in excess of 3 feet in height on the roads, and that in their cleaning, emphasis will also be placed on the heavily silted drains and rivers in these communities. Cupid said the cleaning is being done to facilitate a more detailed assessment of the areas by government agencies and utility companies. And opposition leader Dr. Godwin Friday said that the approach being used by the government to clean up the volcanic ash from the communities in the red and orange zones will not facilitate an effective exercise. At a news conference yesterday, Dr. Friday suggested what he described as more appropriate ways to carry out the cleanup program.
There ought to be an approach where you have a team, a brigade if you like, that goes into the community, hiring members from the community to effectively remove the ash from wherever it exists, whether it's private or public, because the ash don't stay in one place. When it wet, it may stay on your private property, but when it dries, it blows somewhere else. So common sense says that you can't clean up until you clean up everything. It is costly for many persons to clean around their homes, their roof, and so forth. So it is incumbent upon government to take the approach that it is their responsibility, if they wish to clean up the ash in the communities, to do so for the entire community, not just public property, and to provide the assistance needed to homeowners in their private spaces to get their places clean.
The opposition leader further suggested that the government employs persons from the affected communities to carry out their cleanup exercise.
And I've advocated that one way to put some money back into the hands of the people in those communities who have been affected by the eruption is to hire them to go about the cleaning up themselves, not just give it out to one or two big contractors. This, I believe, is still the desirable and preferable approach to undertaking the cleaning of the ash.
A celebration ceremony was held today by the Embassy of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela to commemorate the bicentennial of the Battle of Carabobo. The Battle of Carabobo was one of the main military events during the Venezuelan War for Independence within the framework of the Hispano-American Wars for Independence that was carried out in the Campo de Carabobo on June 24, 1821, by the Patriot Army against the Spanish Royalist Army. Speaking at the commemoration ceremony, Venezuelan ambassador to SVG, Francisco Perez, said the day is special to all Venezuelans because it marks the day it marks the before and after in the history of the country's independence.
Venezuela's history of independence has its foundation first and foremost in the South American project of the great Francisco de Miranda, the forerunner of independence and anti-imperialism. Miranda developed the idea of Gran Colombia in his Colombian project, which consisted of uniting Venezuela, Nueva Granada, and Ecuador into a single nation. This idea of Latin American unity was continued by Simón Bolívar and was sabotaged on several occasions by foreign forces and national oligarchies. The historiography of the South American elite is based on the simplistic axiom that each nation has its decisive battle for national independence.
President of the Venezuela Vincentian Friendship Association, Mike Brown, underscored the significance of the relationship between St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Venezuela.
The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and their government, which not only continues to defend the hard-won independence of 1821, but continues to put that independence to the service of its citizens with emphasis on the most needy people in the society. This is in keeping with that government's second socialist plan, 2013-2019 6-year plan, where it commits itself to, quote, consolidating national independence. So the development plans have this as a recurrent theme, defending and consolidating national independence.
Minister of Education Curtis King highlighted the importance of the Battle of Carabobo in Venezuela in 1821, saying it marked the beginning and the end of Spanish domination and colonialism in Venezuela and Latin America.
Created the conditions for the successful campaign for the independence of Venezuela and Latin America. But I don't want us to get carried away with the success at face value of this important event. Because unfortunately, it did not, that is to say, the independence that derived from this battle for Venezuela and other Latin American countries did not result in the truly liberation of the people of Venezuela and Latin America.
The celebration activities will continue tomorrow with the screening of the Venezuelan film Diario de Bucaramanga at the Venezuelan Institute for Culture and Cooperation at 4:15 p.m. and at 7 p.m. at the Brighton Methodist School.